What has been so far the biggest Spinal Tap moment of your career?
Spinal Tap moment.
Oh yeah, we go in
Goodness.
there. I am joined on the Europe Drum Show official podcast by the legend that is Mr. Steve Smith. Yeah! How are you?
I'm good, Ollie. You have a lot of enthusiasm.
Well,
Wow.
I want to. We're going to have fun. We're going to talk about drums, and of course, the Europe Drum Show. Steve, you've done so much over the last 50 years. In 2012, you were voted number one fusion drummer in the Modern Drummers Readers Poll. Your Modern Drummer Legends book was voted the number one educational product in 2023. Between 1987 and 1991, Modern Drummer voted you the number one drummer for 5 consecutive years. And obviously, you have just done so much more. I wondered if perhaps you and I could break the ice by playing a little game called This or That, where basically, Steve, you have to
Okay.
pick one of the two things that you prefer, and you don't have to give an explanation as to why.
Let's try give it a try.
Okay, so the first question is which has got the most iconic drum intro? We Will Rock You by Queen or Rosanna by Toto?
Oh my goodness. Well, both are pretty great. Let's go with Rosanna.
Okay, interesting. Do you prefer, Steve,
Well,
playing
yeah,
an
I
out?
will I will wait. Let me just give you a little bit of
You did.
background because when I first started playing with Journey in 1978, the first album I made with Journey was in 1979. It was called Evolution, and the producer was Roy Thomas Baker, and Roy Thomas Baker also produced Queen and produced that very song that you just talked about, "We Will Rock You." And he told me that they got that big sound by picking up Roger Taylor's drum riser, which was in the studio, and picking it up and dropping it, boom, boom,
Wow,
and that's how they got that huge intro sound.
that's amazing. I didn't know that. I just
Yeah,
assumed it was floor stomps with your. I've
yeah. I
learned
mean,
something.
that's what he told me, and he was prone to exaggeration, but it was interesting to work with him, right after he worked with Queen.
Wow. Okay. Your second question for this or that is: do you prefer, Steve, to play an outdoor festival or an indoor venue? Which do you prefer?
Oh, definitely indoor.
Okay. Do you prefer listening to something on vinyl or streaming your music?
Oh, vinyl, without a
Okay.
doubt. Like my new
Okay.
album.
Yes. Yes, of course.
It's all
And
coming out next year on vinyl, of course.
I need a signed copy of that. Um, did you prefer the world before the internet, or do you prefer it as it is today?
It really, I hate to say it, but before the internet,
Okay,
it
that's fine.
was, it was kind of
And
yeah, without, you don't have to, I don't have to get into detail, but there was
you
a
don't.
lot of advantages to it.
100%. And your last question for this game,
Yeah.
before we get into it, do you prefer an iPhone or Android? Which do you
Oh,
prefer?
iPhone,
Okay, amazing.
definitely.
Um, Steve, you need no introduction to this podcast. You are an icon, and over the last 50 years, you've toured around the world multiple times. You've played with some of the biggest names in music throughout 5 very successful decades in music. What has been so far the biggest Spinal Tap moment of your career?
Spinal Tap moment.
Oh yeah, we go in
Goodness.
there.
I'd really have to think about that. I mean,
Well, you've never
it was
spontaneously combusted on stage, which is
I
good.
never did. No, no, that never happened. I got hit in the head with some lighting gel during one of the Journey concerts and nearly knocked me out, like back in 1981 or something like that.
Oh my God.
And it was not, all this huge setup of lights and sound, and eventually things go wrong. So that was one thing. Um,
That's
I
very
don't know.
Spinal Tap.
Yeah,
That's
that
very
was
Spinal Tap.
bad. I had to go to the emergency room. I did finish the show, no drum solo that night because I was kind of just spaced out, and went to the emergency room later. And I ended up being okay, but definitely took a blow.
That's amazing. Um, I have to share something with you super personally. Well, from a personal perspective. Um, when I was growing up, because I'm a drummer as well, um, it was a performance of yours that really got me into jazz fusion. And that was your appearance at the Modern Drummer Festival 2003, where you played Over and Out. And that
Right.
song I loved so much. I watched it and I booked tickets to come and see you play at Ronnie Scott's. And in the interval, I sat with you. I'm not expecting you to remember. I was a lot slimmer back then. And yeah, and I just wanted to say, you put so much time aside for me because I was just a teenager at the time, and I was kind of, I was just in awe of you. But I just wanted to say thank you for being so approachable and personable. It was lovely to meet you.
Well, thanks, Ollie. Much appreciated. I mean, I always try to take time for the people that want to speak with me at the gigs, because I appreciate that they come out to hear the music. That's without people coming out to hear us, we wouldn't be playing gigs. So
Exactly.
yeah, so I really appreciate that, and and do try to spend time talking with folks when when I don't have when I don't have to like take off and
Yes,
whatever it is. In fact, I'll be playing at Ronnie Scott's in May again.
I'm there. I'm there.
Uh,
That's it.
yeah, May 10th. We're just now, finalizing it, but it's a Saturday night. I believe it's May 10th. So
Wow.
I'll be there with the new version of Vital Information with Yannick
Yes.
Wizdala on bass and Manuel Valera on keyboards.
Amazing. That is that I've already booked my ticket. I've told you I'm coming. That's my ticket booked, and that's it.
Great.
Talking
I'll,
of,
all right.
we're going to hang out and drink loads of tequilas on your credit card. So so Steve, you're playing on Saturday, the 29th of March, 2005, the main stage of the
Right.
Europe Drum Show. Um,
Right.
what does it mean to you to be asked to play such a prestigious weekend of drums?
Well, for me, it's a lot of fun. It's exciting and a lot of fun. Of course, it can be a little nerve wracking getting ready, getting myself prepared, and figuring out a program. And even after all these years, it's still somewhat daunting to get on stage and play solo drums for whatever it is, 45 minutes or 50 minutes. Sometimes that's not long enough once I get going, but um, but I enjoy also the camaraderie of hanging out with the other drummers that are playing at these these big drum events. And at this point in my life, like you pointed out, it's been like a 50-year career. I just turned 70
Wow.
in August. And so I do a lot less touring now. Like, in fact, here I am my mountain house in Ashland, Oregon, where I take a winter hibernation. And so my next gig is that Europe Drum Fest. So I
Wow.
like to, and this is kind of a new thing in the last few years, take the winter off and really just, slow down and try to relax a little, and then revamp my playing, like work on new ideas and develop new concepts. And so when I do come out to play, which it will start in March, will continue basically through the rest of the year, I'll have something new to offer. So, what I plan on doing is some solo drum performance and then playing along to some of the music of Vital Information, some music minus one, some tracks, and putting together some kind of performance that hopefully will be interesting to the viewers.
I can't wait. You say that you take the winter off. Do you find yourself getting sort of to when winter's kind of coming to an end? Do you find yourself sort of tapping on things and you really realize that you need to start drumming again?
Yeah, I don't stop drumming. I mean, I just did take like a couple of weeks off, but I will. I practice pretty much every day.
Mhm.
It's like it's like something I physically have to do. It feels good. It keeps me in shape. It's, not the only thing that keeps me in shape, but it's one of the things. And it's just a lot of fun. So it's not like I won't be playing the drums up until that time. I will be in my home practice space and getting ready. So yeah, it's a relaxing time, yet
Mhm.
it gives me a space to get creative with what new ideas I want to develop.
Well, you mentioned that you've just turned 70, so
Yeah,
belated happy birthday. I
thank
wouldn't
you.
have said you looked a day over 69 personally. Um,
I'm only a few days over, but yeah.
well, belated happy birthday, and we can celebrate it in Germany when you fly over and do your thing. Do you still get? Is there a degree of nervousness when you do drum exhibitions with other big players, or do you find that because drummers are such natural extroverts that there's no nervousness and everyone just gets on and has a laugh?
I do have some nervousness, but it's generally it's not about the other players. It's just about myself. It's just,
Okay.
making sure that I'm at the top of my game and
Yes.
feeling that I really want to deliver a great performance. Of course, this is after many years of experience. And, in the earlier years, like you're talking about the Modern Drummer Festival, for example, in those early years of playing the Modern Drummer Festival, yes, I was, you know, intimidated by the company that surrounded me. But eventually I had to get to the point where everybody does their own thing. And there's a lot of really fantastic drummers in the world and in that perform on these festivals. So there's no way it can be any kind of competition. Everyone just does what they do. And I want to do what I do to the best of my ability. So really it's just about the nervousness is about my own performance.
I think it's safe to say you now have some of the biggest drummers in the world citing you as one of their inspirations, and you've done incredibly well over the years to earn the most fantastic reputation in the world of drums. So, I would hope that you don't feel too nervous about something like this, and that you can just come on stage and do what you do best. Talking about coming on stage and focusing once again on the Europe drum show, which
Yes.
we're incredibly excited to have you there. What would do you think you would be bringing to the table that perhaps other drummers might not be doing, or have you not yet figured out exactly what you're going to be doing?
Well, no, I have a general idea of what I do at festivals like this, and one of the concepts that I bring to the table is the idea of solo drum set performance.
Mhm.
And then and from my background, I was inspired when I saw Max Roach play a 1 hour concert at a jazz festival in San Francisco. And since then, after that, I did see Max play a number of solo performances. And those solo performances inspired me to be able to develop that kind of ability. So what he did that was so interesting is he had thematic solos, and they had names. Like there's this one very famous solo he had called "The Drum Also Waltzes." It's a piece, melodic rhythmic piece in 3/4, uh, and he had a number of very identifiable drum solo pieces. For Big Sid was one of them, and so I learned about 5 or 6 of his solo pieces. He did a solo hi-hat performance, solo snare drum with brushes performance. He did all of these different ways of playing a drum solo. And so when I was doing clinics, in the 80s and the 90s, I didn't play along to tracks. I played solo drum set performances. Mm-hmm. And I played some of Max's pieces, and then I came up with some of my own pieces. So that's something that maybe some other drummers will be doing, but I'll have my own drum set performance pieces to play. And so it's not a new thing, but it's a unique thing.
Yours,
the way that I approach it, and I approach it also from jazz roots, because yes, I've played rock, and I played jazz rock fusion and jazz, straight ahead, like small group jazz, big band jazz. But it just, like, there's a conception that comes with a jazz swing background as it relates to the drum set and how I play the drum set, how I tune the drum set, just the whole presentation of the way that I approach the drum set is going to be different than somebody else.
Is there a kind of preferred genre that you like to sit in the pocket of just as a drummer, and where you have the most fun? You've mentioned that you've done kind of straight jazz, but also we were talking earlier about, for example, when you did Over and Out on the Modern Drummer 2003 weekend, which was obviously much more fusion. Do you have a preferred genre that you like to have fun with, or do you enjoy having your fingers in lots of different musical pies, so to speak?
Well, over the years, I've enjoyed playing all different kinds of music. And at this point, what really keeps me very interested is the music of my own group, Vital Information. And the music of Vital Information is different depending on who's in the band.
Okay.
So that particular group that you saw with Over and Out, it was with Baron Brown on bass, Tom Coster, Frank Mbali, and Bill Evans was playing saxophone with us at that gig. So that had a particular feeling that's based on all of those personalities. And in fact, we all co-wrote that song together, Over and Out. And it was inspired by Weather Report and a groove that Peter Erskine played on a Weather Report song called Volcano for Hire. Okay. So that you could check that out for like an idea of like, let's come up with something like that. So and then, but if we fast forward to today, the music of Vital Information is shaped and created by the current members. So that's one of the, I would say, one of the outstanding features of a jazz group. We don't really have hits,
right?
So I'm not beholden to play music that I recorded in 1980. The way a rock band would have hits, and their current performance is really just a recreation in many ways of those hits. Whereas in a jazz setting, and what I choose to do with Vital Information is we create our own repertoire with each new incarnation of the band. And so the music is very fresh and very new, and we're playing music that we've creatively come together and come up with as a collective. So it'll include straight ahead, it'll include like some fusion, it includes some South Indian rhythmic ideas with conical, with my use of the syllables, the conical syllables interwoven into the music. So this music that we're currently playing it does touch on all of the genres that I played, but somehow in one potent package of this current new band of Vital Information.
I can't wait to hear the new record. I feel like that might have been the best sales pitch for a new record I've ever heard in my life.
Okay.
That was that was absolutely brilliant. And obviously you're going to be playing Ronnie Scott's as well with Vital Information in May, which is going to be amazing. You have inspired so many drummers, generations of drummers. You have single-handedly inspired these people to pick up sticks and and play the drums. At the Europe Drum Show, there's going to be people traveling from all over the world, and some of them will be obviously coming to see you. What would your advice be to an aspiring drummer of any age that wanted to climb the ladder in the way that you have done so successfully?
Well, the best advice that I can give is to have a very solid foundation. And and for me, that foundation was learning how to read music,
Okay.
learning the fundamentals of good hand technique,
Hmm.
using, having a good private instructor that is knowledgeable of, the history of the rudiments and good hand technique, and then developing into drum set coordination. And I don't, and still the idea like that I came up with is well, the way that I came up is I learned the jazz cymbal ride beat first, and then the coordination to play the rhythmic figures with the snare drum and the bass drum with the spang, spang, lang, sang, lang, ride cymbal beat. And that served me very well because with that kind of coordination, it's pretty easy to play any kind of rock beat, rock, pop, R&B, and anything is technically not a huge challenge after getting your fundamental jazz coordination. So that's how I did it. I'd recommend getting that solid background and then playing music as soon as you can, playing with other musicians and developing your musicianship. Because in the end, it's not just your drumming ability that allows you to make music. It's how you play with other musicians and how you bring life to the music that's presented to you.
Yes.
And that
Yes.
comes with experience.
That's a really wonderful answer, and I think a lot of people will listen to that and latch on to every word that you said there. It was really really inspiring for sure.
It, and there's
Before,
also it's advisable to start with a reasonably small drum set. Like for me, it started with like a practice pad and a pair of sticks. And then
yes.
eventually a drum set with a bass drum, one rack tom, one floor tom, snare drum, hi-hat, just and with that setup, that's a whole world right there. And there are, thousands of drummers that play that setup that were inspiring to me coming up. Everyone from Art Blakey to Tony Williams, Jack DeJohnette, Buddy Rich, they all basically played on a drum set like that, and then add double bass drum, more toms. It's like learn how to play the fundamental drum set first and be comfortable on that.
And then you slowly progress into Terry Bozzio after. It kind of just grows and grows.
It can, yeah. But by that time, you have some fundamental skills.
Yes, yeah, of course. Steve, thank you for joining us on the Europe Drum Show official podcast. It has been
before we sign off, though, I do want
Go
to
on.
mention that I'll be doing a solo performance like we talked about, but I'm also doing a master class in the Mike Dolbear room.
Amazing. Amazing. That is going to be so exciting. So you've
And
got,
there's a
well,
title for it.
go on.
It's called Insights on Brush Playing plus Solo Hi-Hat Moves.
It's going to be incredible. I hope you're
So,
charging a double fee for appearing twice.
yeah, so I think it's Saturday I play at the main stage, and then
Yes.
Sunday is the master class. And Mike asked me to do something on brushes, and then I said, why don't we add some hi-hat moves into that as well. So it should be an interesting masterclass to attend and hopefully get some new ideas about brushes and the hi-hat.
Well, Mike's an amazing guy, and those I know that his masterclasses they're very intimate, So you'll probably get a lot of questions and get to hang out with drummers, perhaps in a more intimate way than you will at the main stage. So it's amazing that you're going to be around all weekend. Before I let you go, Steve, if somebody was watching this 100 years from now,
Boy,
what would you what would you like your lasting legacy to be? How do you want to be remembered?
that's such a relevant question for me right now, because I have been talking with some of my mentors, and recently, I got together with Jack DeJohnette, who's now 82 years old, and we filmed some solos for Sonar, who's next year, 2025, 2025 is the 150th anniversary of Sonar drums.
Wow.
And Jack, he made such a beautiful statement. He goes, "Well, at this point, you've made your contribution." And what an interesting way to think about one's career. That you come and you make a contribution. So, like you just asked me, how do I want to be remembered? And so it's pretty much impossible to answer that, other than that I made some kind of impactful contribution to the music world, and specifically to the world of drumming, that inspired drummers, and hopefully they'll still want to hear my recordings 100 years from now,
I
various
think they
recordings
will.
in all kinds of different settings and genres. So that would be nice to
I
be
think it's
remembered
safe to
like that.
say that I think it's safe to say that people will absolutely be listening to your music for hundreds of years to come. Steve Smith, you are an absolute legend. Thank you so much for coming on. Steve will be around for the whole weekend of the 29th into the 30th of March. He's going to be playing at 12:45 on Saturday the 29th of March on the main stage of the Europe Drum Show. But Steve, thank you so much for coming on, and we will see you in Germany.
Sounds good. Okay.